Welcome to Pistis Life and Leadership Institute. I am Cecilia Abba. We apologize for starting out today's section very late. We're excited to have you join us today. Whether you're a business person, whether you're a manager, an entrepreneur, or you're looking to improve your knowledge in this area of today's topic of discussion on business risk management, we're excited to have you join us today. We are really excited that you are willing to learn and engage with this important topic of discussion today. So before we dive into today's content, would love to know where you are joining us from. Please feel free to share with us your location in the chat box. We are excited to see how far our reach goes. So we'll be in the comment section. Feel free to share with us where you're joining us from this afternoon. And while we are doing that, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, kindly click on the subscription button to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notification bell so that you do not miss our upcoming webinars and interesting updates. You can also follow us across on all of our social media platforms at PLLI online. So I'll be in the comment section looking out for those of us that are online this afternoon. Okay, I can see Victoria, Jesu, Pemi, Victoria. I'm sorry if I didn't get your surname correctly. Victoria is joining us from Lagos. I can see Tunde Banjo. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's such a great delight. I can see Jenny Eta. Thank you. I can see Nwabu Eze Emeka. Thank you so much. I can see Festus Obadire. I'm sorry if I didn't get the name correctly, but I can see Festus also from Lagos. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Because we've taken a little bit of time to get started, we're just going to dive into today's discussion. So to kick things off, I'm excited to welcome and hand over the stage to the founder of the Institute, Pastor Godman Akinlabi, the Global Lead Pastor of the Elevation Church, who will give us a brief welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Pastor Godman.
My name is Godman Akinlabi, founder of Pistis Life and Leadership Institute, PLLI. PLLI was set up to teach, train, and mentor a community of exceptional leaders that will become capable and eventually transform society. PLLI is positioned to be Africa's leading hybrid education hub, offering open enrollment courses, specialized executive education, and short modular courses in government and politics, leadership, enterprise development, as well as faith ministry. Our world-class faculties consisting of founders and business practitioners operating in various industries. PLLI will also build an ecosystem that will provide opportunities for its learners to connect and bring their plans to life. In setting up PLLI, we had the following very clear objectives. One, to create a good environment for practical learning and mentorship. To raise a people with an entrepreneurial mindset. To teach innovative approaches to business. And lastly, to foster ethical business practices. The goal is to help build a competent set of young, active, and socially responsible people who will become industry leaders and innovators. Our approach is centered around using successful African and Nigerian stories to inspire a new generation of entrepreneurs that will build transgenerational enterprises and redefine the landscape of business in Africa. Through our robust curriculum and experienced faculty, we will impact relevant knowledge wisdom and understanding to all who attend PLLI. What about our governance structure? The activities of PLLI are guided by a strong board of trustees. The BOT consists of distinguished and accomplished founders and professionals who have risen to the summit of their chosen field of endeavor in various walks of life in Nigeria and globally. The role of the BOT is to provide a clear strategic direction for PLLI over short, medium, and long term. We have carefully selected a faculty from all walks of life, continents, and industries of operation to provide a robust offering for our participants. Our teaching methodology is multifaceted, comprising of a approach that includes facilitator-led teaching, videos, case studies, and quizzes. Our plan is to ensure that our participants are exposed to different approaches to learning from our community of instructors. Welcome to the Pistis Life and Leadership Institute.
Who is as excited as I am? I'm really excited to actually hear from Pastor Godman. Thank you so much, Pastor Godman. It is an absolute delight to hear from you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. For those that are new here, thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And if you're a returning participant, thank you so much for joining in. So without wasting so much of our time, I am just going to introduce our guest speaker for today's section. Quickly into the section, we're going to be having an expert in risk management, Mr. Segun Oladipo. With nearly 30 years of extensive experience in the banking sector, Segun Oladipo has developed a profound expertise in various facets of banking operations, including branch management, marketing, regional leadership, and risk management. Currently serving as the Chief Risk Officer at Unity Bank PLC, Segun is instrumental in shaping and implementing risk management strategies with a particular emphasis on retail banking. His role involves overseeing risk assessment processes, developing risk mitigation strategies, and ensuring regulatory compliances to safeguard the bank's assets and operations. Segun's comprehensive career spans significant role in bank operations, efficiently managing daily branch activities and ensuring operational excellence. Marketing, driving strategic marketing initiatives to enhance the bank's markets, the bank's market presence and customer engagement. Regional banking leadership, leading regional banking teams to achieve business objectives and operational targets. Risk management, developing and overseeing risk management frameworks to identify, assess, and mitigate potential risks affecting the bank. His education, he has a Master's of Business Administration, Master's of Science in Agricultural Economics, and a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Economics. Segun's academic background in agricultural economics provide a unique perspective on financial analysis and risk management, further enhancing his capability to manage complex financial risks and contribute to strategic decision-making processes. As a seasoned banking professional, Segun Oladipo combines his extensive industry experience with his academic credentials to deliver exceptional results in finance and risk management. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. Segun Oladipo as he guides us through risk management in business operations.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Thanks for the introduction. I'm sure we can all appreciate. Yeah, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure we can all hear me very well. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. This is a lunchtime learning. So for every one of us that has, you have decided to skip your lunch, or maybe you took your lunch earlier than now, I want to say welcome. It's going to be worth your time. I'll quickly run through what I have here. The topic I need to speak to this afternoon is so large, actually. But what I'll do is just to do some intro. When you get into university, they'll do something 001 or 101, like an intro. Business risk analysis is very wide. I mean, extremely wide. But we'll make an attempt to do a bit of justice to that within the next 45 minutes and see if we can get some questions. Specifically, the topic for today says that business risk management, innovating and adapting for long-term success. Can we share this slide? Beautiful. Thank you so much. Here, the next slide. So what do we expect, and what are we going to be speaking specifically to this afternoon? Number one, of course, the introduction, where we're going to be talking about the definitions. The strategic risk management, where we look at the key components, how to identify risks, risk management techniques, strategies, and transfer of risk, the strategic planning and strategic risk management. Then we'll look at crisis leadership, and I'll show us the connection between the risk management and crisis leadership. And of course, some highlights on how to stay competitive, in this particular period, economic downturn. So next slide. So the next, we want to talk about what is risk. I'm sure everyone here has an idea of what risk is. It's not anything strange. We talk about, oh, this is risky, this is dangerous, this is, So risk can be defined as an uncertainty about the effects or implications of an activity. It could be positive and it could be negative. When something is uncertain, where you don't have an idea of what the outcome will be, then there's a risk element in it. Okay? I'd like to have the slide on the screen, please, so that we can, yeah. Okay, so business risk particularly refers to the potential for losses, damages, or disruptions to a company's operations, finances, and not just that, reputation. Now, reputational risk is, you could say, oh, you can't touch it, but it's extremely damaging. And then I will speak, if we have time, we'll speak to examples of where reputational risk has actually destroyed businesses. Okay, this can be a result of various types of strategic risk. I mean, you have financial risk, which you're very familiar with, when a company cannot manage its finances very well, with the cash flow problems or liquidity problems or treasury risk, in the company. Or you talk about operational risk. Right? Operational risk spans the entire business from one point to the other across the entire business. How do people work? How do they interact? Key man risk. All those things are under operational risk. Compliance risk, or what we call regulatory risk. In the business where I am, in the industry where I work, we have a lot of regulations. Okay, and it is in the best interest of the institution or institutions in this sector to comply with basic regulatory issues. Okay, if you flout it, it could it could be sanctions, and at the extreme of it, license could be withdrawn. I'm sure we're aware of a bank whose license was withdrawn not too long ago. The cyber risk becoming very, very real, in recent times, very, very real. With a lot of social engineering happening these days, identity risk, cyber risk has become a major, major, major risk, that no company should overlook. Of course, under cyber risk, you have things like data management or data compromise, all kinds of things under cyber risk, and of course, political risk. Okay, we know that one political decision can throw a business out of existence immediately. Because we don't have too much time, I won't go into too many examples, but I'm sure we can connect as we go along. Next slide, please. So here we're talking about trying to compare what the traditional risk management approach and the strategic risk management approach. While the old approach, the traditional risk management, is more reactive, or it has happened, and therefore, what do? We learn from more. Strategic risk management, which I'm just for short, I'll just go SRM as we move along so we can just understand. SRM is where it's more proactive. You sit down, you plan, you try to foresee, okay, what could go wrong in the business, and you do your own plans. So you identify, you assess, and you plan mitigations. As we go along, we'll understand. Next slide, please. So while traditional risk management is reactive, SRM is proactive, and you will see how exactly is a proactive approach to managing the business. SRM is a fundamental aspect of a company strategy that involves, number one, the identification, and number two, the evaluation of potential risks. What does that mean? I want to go into, let's say, ice cream making, for instance. I have to understand that in Nigeria, we normally have power outages. So nobody needs to tell me that I must provide standby power. I must do generator as a standby. If I must create maybe like 3 options, because I could be disappointed. Those are the kind of things you do when you're planning, when you're doing an SRM approach to business. It may impact the achievement of a company's organizational goals and objectives. Now, so what you're doing is that you're doing an SRM, to work with your goals. You've set out your plans, your objectives as a business, and you're doing SRM to make sure that, okay, what could go wrong? The correct question is, what could go wrong? Okay, and when you ask what could go wrong, then you're providing mitigants, so you're preparing for it. So SRM is an ongoing, please listen to that, it's an ongoing and a proactive process that allows businesses to identify vulnerabilities, mitigate threats, and capitalize on opportunities. I repeat that. It's an ongoing. So it's not as if you will draw it up today and you will not check back on it. No. Because risks evolve with time. I was telling some of my colleagues, some years back, cyber risk was not very, very major, but today it's probably one of the leading risks. So SRM is an ongoing and proactive process that allows businesses to identify vulnerabilities, meaning the weaknesses in the system, mitigate threats, and capitalize on opportunities. Next slide, please. So the key components of strategic risk management, number one, risk assessment. Okay, this involves analyzing the various potential risks, the likelihood of the occurrence. How could this happen? Could this, again, we measure the times. You say, okay, this could happen once. It could happen once in a year. It could happen 5 times in a year. It could happen, So that's the kind of, for instance, if you're talking about this ice cream making company, you're looking at, you can tell yourself that, power outages could happen almost every day of the year. So your generator must be such that, okay, can work all around, 24/7 or that kind of thing. So the likelihood of occurrence and the potential impact on the organization, obviously. If this risk crystallizes, then how does it impact the business? Risk assessment helps organizations gain deeper understanding of the potential risk they face, allowing them to prioritize resources and develop effective risk mitigation strategies. Like I said, when you're doing your SRM framework, you're saying to yourself that, okay, these are the risks that could happen, okay? The potential risk. If they do happen, how do we mitigate so that they won't happen? You understand? How do we deploy resources so that at the end of the day, your goal is the achievement of your objective? And your objective could be anything. It could be profit making. It could be expansion of market. It could be, moving into new business, new opportunities. It could be anything. As long as you want to do something, you have an objective or you have a goal, then you want to measure, you want to look at the risks, from where you are to where you want to be. That is the entire framework around strategic risk management. Now, those are the kind of things that could happen. Disruption in your supply chain, change in consumer behavior. You can see as so you think, it's little, but it's important. If you're manufacturing and distributing a thing or an item or a product that today it's an in thing, it's something that everybody likes. But what happens tomorrow? What if your consumers, stop taking it? What if your consumers don't accept it? And there are all kinds of examples all around. Regulatory changes, I've already spoken about that, very key. It could wipe a business out. One regulatory decision or policy could change the course of a business, and it could wipe a business out. Cybersecurity threats, I've already spoken about that. Financial and market fluctuation. You must realize that whatever happens, especially in the economy, okay, the kind of directions that things take in the economy, how much people have in their pockets, purchasing power, and all kinds of things like that do affect every business. Okay, so the decisions that business owners take in managing this kind of movement very key. So this risk can have a significant impact on the business ability to achieve its strategic goals and objectives. So by understanding these examples of strategic risk, please go back. Let me just finish that. Organizations can develop a robust, and we'll talk about that, a robust risk management strategy that aligns with overall strategy and mitigates potential risk exposures. Summary: understanding the potential risk that the business faces and planning the mitigation ahead of, before it crystallizes, also that it won't even crystallize at all. Next slide. So how do you identify risks? We're talking about it's a proactive thing. So you want to go into a business, or you want to do at the beginning of the year, or whatever it is, you want to look at what risk does my business face. Number one, you conduct a strategic risk assessment. What does that mean? Like I said to you, you're sitting down, you're looking at any kind of business, and I don't know why this ice cream keeps coming to my mind. And you're saying, okay, where are we? We want to set up this business in, let's say, VI. Okay, what are the risks that we face? Okay, power, market, distribution issues, all those issues. That's strategic risk assessment. Okay. Number two, you can engage in enterprise risk management. What that means is that look at all the risks possible, the entire risk that the business faces. Number three, stay informed and updated. What does that mean? Look at the industry. Look at what has happened or what is happening in the industry. That will tell you that what the risk that you face, because you are not operating in isolation. You're not operating as an island. You're operating, like in an ecosystem. You're operating in probably in a sector, and of course in the economy. So you need to stay informed and of course update your knowledge about your business. Seek inputs from stakeholders. Of course, all your stakeholders are they have direct impact on your business. Your staff, regulatory, your customers. Engage with them. Seek input from them, so that you can use that information, the information you get from them, to developing a very robust SRM. That way, you will be able to understand exactly the entire risks as much as possible that the business faces or potentially faces. When you engage all the stakeholders, the stakeholders are natural people that have interest. Natural groups or clusters that have interest in the business or that have impact in the business. So by the time you engage with all of them, we're not talking about putting them in a room, no, but just having engagement, understanding how their interaction with the business affects your business. It's important. Analyze your supply chain. Why is supply chain very important? If there's a disruption in your supply chain, then the entire business will face a big problem. So you must analyze your supply chain. Okay, if you're a manufacturing company, who are your key suppliers? How do you reorder? Where are they coming from? Is that import input? So how do you source dollars? Those are the kind of things you must consider, because a disruption in the chain will create a big problem for the business. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we're talking about risk management techniques and mitigation strategies. Number one, diversification. We all understand what that means. If you open up the base, if you have one line of supplier, for instance, if something goes wrong with that supplier, automatically you're gonna have a problem. So diversify the base. Have 2 suppliers, have 3 suppliers, in case one defaults or one is unable to meet your requirements on time. So it's not just somebody meeting, it's not just a supplier meeting your supply requirements, it's meeting it on time and in good, in good condition and in good price. Number 2, hedging. Hedging is when you remove uncertainty from a transaction. What does that mean? for instance, if you want to hedge currency risk, you say, okay, the way I see dollar is moving to $1,000, $2,000. Okay, if I work with my bank and I say, bank, I will need $1 million, say in December. Can I pay 1.7 now because it may go to $2,000 to $1 in December? Let me hedge my risk. Bank, can you take this? And the bank will work it out for you and will say exactly what you could pay today to hedge against the risk of dollar going, far outside your, what you can afford in that future. Insurance. Insurance is to transfer risk. That's very important. And when things began to get difficult, around now, I started telling businessmen around me, the biggest risk you will face today is if you don't insure your business, insure your assets. Because what that means is that the cost of replacement will be too much for you should something go wrong. So don't mind what the premium looks like as a business person. Ensure that your assets are well insured, well insured. Of course, the risk may not crystallize, there may not be any problem, but should it crystallize, what we have done? That's why insurance is key. Contingency planning. Contingency planning is to tell yourself that, okay, this risk could crystallize, something could go wrong, therefore let me set aside this, or let me do this. And when you see people say, okay, I'm going to have 2 generators, a big one and a small one. So in case the big one stops, the small one will work with, for us until the big one comes up. Or somebody says, oh, I'm going to have a big generator and I'm going to have UPS or any other alternative power supply. Those are contingency arrangements. Okay, risk avoidance is a case where you told yourself that this risk, you don't want to take it at all. So you avoid it completely. Every business does that. Every business decides under the strategic risk management the kind of risk and the quantum of risk it can accept. So you ask yourself, so why does this company do this and this company will not do this? It's because at the ownership level or at the board level, they've decided that we can accept this risk, and another company says we can't accept this risk. So you must make up your mind upfront the kind of things you want to go into. And if you look at the entire landscape, you'll understand why some businesses do this and why some businesses don't do this. It comes from risk acceptance. Setting what you can accept as risk. So quality control. Quality control tells you exactly upfront, this is the kind of quality we want to deliver at all times. And you set your framework around it, ensuring that, okay, you don't have quality compromise. Training and development, train your staff very well. When the skill set of your staff, when it's at the top, it's at top, it's top notch. You're not going to have any problem. Things around quality will not be an issue. Things around customer service, business losses will not be issues. People don't understand that training and development, just as succession planning, there are risk issues. You say, I don't want to waste money at a training budget. No. If your staff are not well trained, what happens is that they expose you to the risk, to a risk that you may not even have envisaged. So we want to encourage business owners, business leaders to expose their staff to training. It helps. When they're well skilled, the risk that your business faces reduces. Of course, supply chain optimization, we can't speak about this enough because we know that every business is in the middle. You require inputs coming from your suppliers, all kinds of inputs. You can list them, okay? But you must manage your supply chain very, very well. If something goes wrong there, the entire business is faced with a big challenge. Next slide, please. Of course, part of managing risk is to transfer your risk. Yeah. So number one is insurance policies, which we have spoken to earlier. To transfer risk, number one, the top one is to insure it. When you insure your risk, it means that you have transferred the risk from your business to the insurance company. Okay? Outsourcing. What does that do for you? It takes the risk from your business to a third party. So the third party is the one that will carry the risk. Let's talk about, for instance, outsourcing for staff, outsourcing for supplies. The risk of something going wrong in that particular area of your business has been transferred to the third party. Of course, in partnering and collaborating with other businesses, what are you doing? You're sharing your risk, you're transferring your risk. Joint ventures enable you to share risk. Of course, risk sharing agreements too. What we're saying is that all of these things will help you manage your risk, will help you get closer to attaining what your objectives are. If you don't deal with risk upfront, when risk crystallizes, it will set you back big time. We're speaking about derivatives, reinsurance, especially if the risk is huge or large. Okay, you insist that your insurance company reinsures. Okay, a good insurance company knows that very well. Even outside their policy, they reinsure so that if a huge risk crystallizes, the insurance company does not only take the risk, it transfers part of it to the larger company, the reinsuring company. Securitization, which is where you convert assets. Okay, you convert assets and you transfer. Okay, this is more around finance. I mean, it's a financial instrument. For those of us that have been around for long, remember 2008 where we had the housing bubble in the US, it was actually out of this. Something could go wrong with securitization. However, it's a good way to transfer risks. Next slide, please. So we're saying here that strategic risk management plays a crucial role in strategic planning process. It helps organizations align their risk appetite with their strategic objectives. Remember where I said that a company says to itself, I can't do this business. Meanwhile, another company says, I can do this business. It's because the company that says I can't do it has made up its mind, okay, on the kind of risks it's willing to take or its own risk appetite. So essentially, strategic risk management enables a business to align risk appetite with objectives with strategic objectives. It ensures that an organization takes calculated risks that align with its overall strategy. It helps validate strategic decisions by considering the potential risks and the potential impact on the organization's ability to execute its strategies. All of this speak to just one thing: aligning risk with strategic objective. Next slide. Here, we're speaking to the fact that we must all understand that ownership, and I brought ownership in here because I know that not all companies have a well-structured board of directors. So if you're an SME, if you own your business, then we're talking to you as ownership. So ownership, board members, senior executives play a crucial role in strategic risk management process. Leadership provides oversight and guidance, ensuring that the organization's risk management practice align, again, please note that one, with overall goals and objectives. So what are we saying here? We're saying that strategic risk management actually starts at the ownership level or at the board level. That is where the business will decide that, okay, we will do this, but we won't touch this. We will touch this, but up to this limit. Those are the kind of things that, at the ownership level, decisions are taken. By integrating risk management into strategic decision-making processes, organizations can enhance their ability to anticipate and respond to risks, ultimately improving its overall performance and resilience. It's what you prepare for, that you're not caught by surprise when it happens. That is just the bottom line. If you had sat down to envisage the kind of risk you face, when it happens, you will not be surprised because you're already prepared for it. Next slide. So here we just want to show an alignment between strategic planning and strategic risk management. Strategic planning is about listening, learning, and aligning. In the end, the biggest benefit is not in the document. A lot of companies, they run retreat, they go, mean, we're getting to the end of the year now. You hear businesses going on retreat and coming out, with documents, strategic document. It's more than that. What is important is the buy-in that document or that decision, and the alignment among the board, the staff, and all other key players or key stakeholders. So when you start planning process by mapping threats and opportunities, it helps you to create more dynamic and effective long-term goals and strategies. What we're saying is that don't plan your business, don't go into strategic planning process without thinking about strategic risk management. Because, like I said not too long ago, if you ask yourself what could go wrong, and you plan around what could go wrong, and you are ready, then for you to achieve your objective becomes easy. So the approach allows stakeholders to create ambitious visions and goals that allow the organization to address those identified risks. This thing that we put here are just some of those strategic planning tools. I mean, SWOT, which we all know, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Those are strategic planning tools. Or PESTEL, where you identify all the risks, political, economic, social, technology, environment, legal. Those are the risks. So when you match, the opportunity, when you match your SWOT against the PESTEL, it becomes a more robust, document for you to plan your strategy into the future. Next slide, please. After all said and done, and you've identified the risks, you've simulated how it could happen, it could still happen. So when a risk has crystallized, or when a risk crystallizes, then it becomes what? It becomes crisis. So after all you have done, I mean, we all know that you anticipate, you plan, you do all of that. What if it happens? How do you handle that? Next slide. So when a risk crystallizes, then it becomes crisis. Again, you just have to deal with it. All right, next slide. So that is it. The crisis happened, and the gentleman took off. So a crisis is a series of events that may lead to important changes to an organization, and is usually caused by unexpected occurrences that suddenly interrupt an organization's normal operation. It could be anything: the death of the leader, of the CEO, disruption from government, something as little as road construction. I buy fuel somewhere. I used to buy fuel somewhere around Oniru. Then suddenly they were doing the road and they blocked the road. Of course, all of us that are customers to that gas station that period couldn't access it. Business disruption. So for that period, either they were unable to sell at all, or they were just managed to sell so little. Unplanned, unexpected, but it happened. So a crisis can threaten the existence or strength of an organization. Of course, it takes the employees by surprise. It requires quick decisions. If I say decision on your feet, and it may lead to a necessity for a change. Next slide. Leading through or during crisis is a test of your business continuity system of planning. What do we mean? We're all aware, sometime early this year, a bank lost a CEO in an air crash. If you recall that within a week or so, succession was already in place, and somebody else, became CEO, and they continued from there. That's a typical crisis, and it was a test of that company's, the resilience, or that bank's resilience. Because if the death of the CEO, after the death of the CEO, there was confusion, no clear succession planning, then you can imagine what would have happened. It's a test of how robust and resilient your system is, and it includes succession planning, disaster recovery, transparent communication. What do we mean? CEOs must not shy away from grooming potential successors. Identify talent, groom them, expose them to training, because you do not know what will happen tomorrow. It may not even be death, it may be retirement. You want your business to outlive you. So you must plan succession from as quickly as you can. And should a risk crystallize around that, of course, somebody else will continue from there. When banks assess, when companies approach us for credit, we look and we say, key man risk, meaning, this business is built around one individual. If that individual passes or becomes incapacitated, what happens? That's a key man risk. Disaster recovery. You are saying to yourself that should something happen to this business here, how do we continue? And so you find institutions, for instance, with a lot of investment in IT, setting up a full disaster recovery site. So should there be a problem at one, within a very short time, they're able to switch over to another one, what I think we call failover. Automatically, there is no, in fact, the customers will not even know that something had happened in the institution. So it's important for us to plan for the disaster recovery. And of course, during that period, it is required that leadership or the company or the business, communicate transparently. If you recall, again, the bank that lost its CEO, to a large extent, within a short time, I think about on a Friday, by Monday, when everybody was still asking questions, they came out with a statement. This has happened, understand with us, however, give us a bit of time. That is what is required during crisis. It tells the audience, it tells the public that you know exactly how to, come out of this period. Crisis leadership is a process that a leadership team deploys during an event that threatens an organization. It involves planning ahead for a crisis. Planning ahead for a crisis means you have all those things in places and more. So that's one planning, disaster recovery, transparent communication, all those things you already have. In fact, in some institutions, they have like a document that says, if this happens, this is how we'll communicate to the public. Standard. So it involves planning ahead for a crisis, motivating the employees during the crisis, managing public relations, and or preserving the organization in the aftermath. Okay, so when it happens, what do you do, post the crisis? Next slide, please. These are steps in crisis management. Detection, noticing signs that the crisis could be coming. If you're very familiar with the way they give notices, especially in the US, when a hurricane is coming, that's a typical crisis. Somebody cites the hurricane and they name the hurricane after the person. Hurricane X, or Hurricane Y, Hurricane, Shegun. Yeah, the person that cites the hurricane, they name the hurricane after the person. So that's detection. Then what do you see next? Preparation. They announce to the people. So please go back to that slide. That Hurricane X is coming and this is the strength of the hurricane. Therefore, move out of that place. Okay? Then damage control. It has happened. What do we need to do? During that period, if you recall, if you're familiar with what normally happens, you will see effective communication. Let's move everybody here. This and that. The strength of the hurricane will drop in another 48 hours. Effective communication during the period, and of course, recovery. The hurricane has happened, the crisis has happened, the recovery, rebuilding resources that were damaged by the crisis, as well as improving the strength and the resilience of the organization. And of course, after everything, you want to reflect. A reflection period. Okay, find opportunities to improve the processes of the organization in response to a crisis, preparing, to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and learnings from what has happened, and all of that. And it's good again to document such. Document it and put it in a file so that generations of another set can read and understand that at the particular this happens or the things they did. Next slide. So here is just to give us some highlights of this season is very interesting. So we say, how do you stay competitive in an economic downturn, which is something that we're experiencing at this time? Just some highlights, just some tidbits. Next slide. Number one, build up your cash reserves. How do I mean? Set up with discipline, okay, a cash reserve, meaning for every naira that you earn, make up your mind to put aside XYZ because it will help you through the period of downturn. So build up your cash. Normally the cash is king. Cash flow is the most important. Okay, so it helps during a period of downturn. Number two, invest in technology. It will help a great deal. Even if it costs a little to do that investment, it will help. Number one, it will improve efficiency. Number two, it will improve bottom line, ultimately. So it's a good time to invest in technology even during downturn, because at the end of the day, efficiency can actually increase your top line. Improved efficiency can increase your top line. Have that in mind. Focus on customer retention. It's a period when you must make up your mind that the customers you have are your treasure. It is said that it costs multiples. At times 7x, at times 5x. Okay, it costs maybe 5x for this discussion to acquire a new customer that will retain the one that you already have. So during a downturn like this, it is good that you focus on retaining your customer base. Do everything not to lose your primary customers, because it will cost you more to replace that customer. It will be a good time to expand into new markets and to new opportunities. What do I mean? Let's assume that you package, let's say, dry fruits for sale that we see all around these days. And before now, you've been packaging, let's say, mango. It will be a good time to look at, number one, not just selling in new markets, probably just expanding the lines. Okay, the lines of the business, meaning you want to do more, you want to package other fruits. We're just talking about how do you develop resilience in a period of economic downturn. When we say focus on customer company culture, what that means is that your staff are your treasure. Your staff are your treasure. Imagine you lose a key staff during the economic down, you have to now replace. You know how much it will cost you. Assuming you're paying somebody 800,000 naira, a salesperson, and competition took the person from you. Apart from the fact that you've weakened your position, strengthened competition, it will cost you much more to replace that person. So during a period like this, treasure, appreciate, celebrate your staff. Celebrate your wins. Do all that you can, at that period, to ensuring that, okay, topmost, your company culture is, and of course, it could be a time if you want to consider it. I mean, I work in a bank, so if I didn't talk about this, I won't be selling my way. So consider taking a line of credit. It could be a bailout at that time. Okay, it could be a bailout at that time, especially if you have strong cash flow, right? So during that period, it's not a bad idea to look into take credit. Next slide. I think that's the final slide. So in conclusion, firstly, strategic risk management is dynamic. I had said this, and I just want to emphasize the fact that what was major real risk that the business faces yesterday may not be as important as another evolving risk. And I spoke specifically about cyber risk. Years back, cyber risk was not major. But today, you and I know, just like cyber risk is major to banks and financial institutions, there are other major risks that every business potentially, faces. So it's important for us to understand that strategic risk management is not what an institution does and sits back. You must, continue to stay ahead. So therefore, regular reassessment and update on business risk ensures that an organization has a comprehensive understanding of potential threats and how to mitigate identify risks. SRM helps organizations take a proactive approach to risk identification and make informed decisions to maximize profitability and ensure long-term success of the organization. In addition, an economic downturn brings a lot of uncertainty, just like we're seeing right now, but there are opportunities to be found as well. Focus on staying visible in the marketplace and continually look for new opportunities to expand. This will put the company in a good state, a good position once the economy begins to show signs of recovery. Thank you. So I'm
Wow,
sure we have some questions.
thank you so much, Mr. Shegu. Thank you. That's really amazing.
My
You've
pleasure.
said so much about risk management. Well, to handle this section, the Q&A section, I'm just going to bring up Mr. William Nwachiku. He's going to handle this section. So I believe while he was speaking, you've been taking a lot of notes, right? You've been taking down some questions, and I'm sure we all have questions to ask Mr. Shegun concerning managing risks within the purview of our businesses. All right. So, Mr. William, are you there? Is Mr. William here with us? While we are waiting for Mr. William to come up, please drop your question. Feel free to drop your question in the comment section. We can see your questions, okay? Drop it, and Mr. William is going to share them with Mr. Shegun.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Thank you so much. We celebrate you, Mr. Shegun Oladipo. It was an amazing lecture, lots of nuggets delivered so succinctly in such a short time frame. I feel like we need to go back and listen over and over again, make a lot of screenshots, screen grabs, you know, maybe book a one-on-one with you because it's just a lot, right? We just had a master class in a very short time. We also celebrate you. Thank you so much, all our audience, for making out time. Your lunch time, break time, just making out time, to be with us. I like that Mr. Shegun spoke about training. It's popular saying that if you're not informed, you're likely to be deformed, right? So, getting this information is risk management in itself, and we yes we are managing. Yes, thank you, Isioma. Thank you so much. Thank you, Victoria, saying it's worth listening to over and over again. Lots of amazing comments and a lot of questions. However, we're so constrained for time, today. And we'll probably just take one question, that we consider very critical to, everything that's been said and cuts across, some of the questions that we see here from the studio. And that would be, what practical steps would you recommend, for businesses looking to immediately implement a more robust risk management strategy? So we've heard all that you've said, and we are fired up. We really want to get, hit the ground running from tomorrow, from tonight. So what would you advise, that we do immediately, sort of implement a robust risk management, framework?
Thank you so much. And thanks for all the comments that are coming in. This is the start point. Take your business. Look at where you are. Okay? define where you want to be. 2 years, 5 years, whatever, that's what you call strategic planning. Then tell yourself, how do I get there? It's like a man that wants to make a trip from Lagos to Ibadan and tells himself, okay, there are 2 ways to get into Ibadan. I could do Lagos by the expressway, I could do another route. Okay? And you ask yourself, okay, what could go wrong between where we are and where we want to be as a business? So that's what we call risk identification. Every business has its own peculiar risk. There are some general issues that we all face. I mean, financial risk probably is not just general. Okay? But there are peculiar risks that, that businesses face. Maybe we want to call them sector-specific risks. So looking at the business that you run, okay, look at the peculiar risks that, that kind of business faces. And it's not, I mean, you don't need to try to really create anything. If you look at businesses before in that sector, or businesses running like you, look at the issues they had faced that had probably disrupted their businesses. Okay? That's what we call risk identification. You must make an attempt to identifying as many risks as possible. Of course, there are buckets that when we describe risk: operational risk, financial risk, cyber. Yeah, those are buckets of risk. But you now have to come down and say, okay, operational risk. Okay, what about staffing? Staffing is a risk. If your key staff leaves, it's going to disrupt the business. All right. So you tell yourself that, okay, do I create redundancy in my staffing? Meaning that I have a key staff. Okay, but I have someone else that's currently understudying this key staff. Or I expose all my staff to cross functions. What that means is that one person can do, every person has the knowledge of what other people do. So should there be a disruption in your supply, not talking about your staff, you can easily deploy one person to fill the space, there. That is talking about the kind of risks that staffing could present, and that's operational risk. So make a fair attempt at identifying the risks that your business potentially faces, and do a detailed work. When you have done that, then you move to the next stage, which is, what are the potential mitigants, or how do you mitigate these risks? Talking about the staffing, for instance, and do a cross-functional exposure or creating redundancies, those are ways you can at least fairly mitigate the risk presented by, staffing. Okay, if you're in a business where, for instance, it's difficult to hire people, to hire the kind of skill set required there, then you would do well. For instance, let me give you an example. If you're in healthcare, and you have the diagnostic end of healthcare, right? Where you don't have too many radiologists or too many radiographers. I'm just speaking, specifically about the business. You decide to begin to create a pipeline. Pipeline meaning that you engage with the teaching hospitals around you. Okay, you begin to engage with them such that you have a pipeline of resources coming out of the school that you can hire. So should there be a need for you at any point, you can easily go to that, that kind of relationship you build, because you don't wait till it crystallizes before you begin to run around. If it's, for instance, supply chain, you want to create, alternatives, you want to create 3, 4, you want to create, so you'd back to the summary. Sit down, look at your business, make a fair attempt to identifying the potential risk the business faces. Number 2, begin to come up with a fair, bucket of mitigants. Should, what you're saying is that, should this risk crystallize, what do I do? So when you say you want to have 2 generators, for instance, or one generator and solar, and one generator and UPS, you're actually just telling yourself that if there's a power outage, your business must not come down. So those are the kind of things you do. So the final thing is, sit down, which most people don't do, and learn to document. At times things come to our mind randomly, we just choose and we move on. No matter how small your business is, create a risk. There's a book like that you can just very handy see you. What are the issues around? What could go wrong? Do it and then put it together, and it helps you. It becomes your strategic risk management document. Okay, I can pass it on to the next generation, but don't miss that. Thank you.
Wow, amazing conversation. I'm glad I know where to start, and I'm sure, I'm sure you also know how you can start. Amazing. We can run with this. We definitely can run with this. But the good news is that I've been duly informed that PLLI has got opportunities to help you take a deeper dive, into some of these conversations, and really unpack this learning. So without wasting much of our time is up. I'll bring up Mr. Emeka Odibeli to just sort of share with us how we can take advantage of some of these opportunities, and run. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Okay.
sir.
It's been a very lovely one. Thank you, Mr. Shego. And really, I'm very glad that I was part of this because it's a big school for me, a big learning curve for me, and I enjoyed it. So one of the beautiful things I want you to know is that in PLLI we don't train you not to survive the risk. Rather, we train you to be able to prevent, manage, and survive the risk. And currently, we opened up our school for our School of Enterprise Development. Class starts March 3rd, 2025, and registration is open now. So we have our Spark program. Spark is our basic entry level funnel for enterprise development for every startup, anybody who's trying to come into the entrepreneurship space. If you have that idea, you want to launch that business, you want to launch that solution. So Cohort 2 is starting March 3rd. So you can scan the barcode on the screen now, or you can click on the link that is going to be dropped in the comment section. Also, you can visit our PR page at PLLI.org and get full details and start to register because class starts March 3rd and registration is open now. Spark for us is going to be is a hands-on learning process. There's going to be a lot of class facilitator. There's going to be a lot of hybrid exchange. There's going to be peer influence. There's going to be a lot of mentorship coaching. There's going to be internship as well, and business plan and pitch deck creation, which will be able to help you at the end of the day to be able to have full ownership of what you create and full mastery of what we're launching you into. And remember, with PLLI, we don't leave you when you finish. Rather, we take you along the journey and make you begin to help others with us. So with that, I can boldly say that we've come to the end of today, and we have an amazing webinar coming up next week. That's on the 26th, and we're going to be talking about mind mastery. Mind mastery is about self-leadership and personal management, personal development. So mind mastery is going to be coming up next week with Boye Ademola. It's going to be another mind-blowing session. For those of you who are here today, you can still come back to YouTube and watch again. Like Victoria said, it's worth watching over and over again. You can watch it over and over again and share with your friends, share with your communities, share with your people groups so that they can be able to benefit from the free knowledge that has come to you to help you, and it can also help them. Then get people to come back and subscribe and follow us and turn on their notifications for further engagement. So we have 2 more webinars coming, but next week, make it a date because we're going to be sharing something more exclusive that will be very, very tangible and useful for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I trust you're going to have a lovely day and a lovely week ahead. Thank you.